Business Express on Smooth 98.1. Business Express, brought to you by InterSwitch, transaction solutions you can depend on.
We're Smooth 98.1 FM. Good morning and welcome to Business Express. I've been joined right away by Rotus Oddiri for Business. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Omas. Good morning to all our listeners, viewers, clients out there. It's a new week. November is coming to an end. November ends this week.
I see that. We need to talk that all over, just say that all over again. But a lot to talk about this morning in terms of November. But before we get into the what's on your tray for business this morning, Rotus, I'd like the clients to know and the listener to know that they can be part of this conversation on 0809-444-0981 will be where we like to get those usual WhatsApp messages. But if you're new, that's what they do. They're part of the conversation on Business Express. Rotus, let's get straight to this one relating to Nigeria's economy. That's the GDP, 2.5% GDP growth rate in the third quarter, driven by services and the non-oil sector. How did this happen?
Yeah, Omas, it's the same story. The oil sector is just not performing. Although oil, it's contracted. I mean, it's still been contracting, but the contraction was like just 0.8% in this third quarter, as opposed to like 20-something in prior quarters. So non-oil, basically, I think it was 2.75 or is it 2.77% non-oil sector growth, essentially has been pushing the economy forward. If you look at the top 10 contributors, crop production, which makes up 92% of agriculture, trade, real estate actually surpassed crude oil. I think it came in third place or so, financial services, so on and so forth. But the thing is, Omas, even though the non-oil sector is what is pushing the economy forward, in terms of foreign exchange, it's still oil that is bringing in the bulk of the FX for us. Oil production did climb 1.42 million barrels per day in the third quarter, which was better than like the 1.2 million we saw in the second quarter of this year. But we are still way behind the over 2 million barrels per day that we did like in the first quarter. Nigeria has not put out 2 million barrels per day since quarter one of 2020 when the COVID pandemic hit. So it's the same story. We're not growing as much as our population. Oil theft is still hitting us. Even though crop production was the number one contributor to, or rather the largest contributor in terms of economic activity, it grew by like, what was crop production? I think it was 1.2%. It was under 2%. It was really low. So you can imagine crop production making up 92% of your agricultural activity, and yet in real terms, year on year, it's not growing up to 2% itself. Why? Your arable land, you have mostly subsistence farmers, and subsistence farmers is a polite way of saying poor farmers. Your mechanized agriculture is not where it needs to be. Your yield per hectare is not where we have a food crisis. Look at where food inflation is. I was trending yesterday because of my cook's bill for stew, and so I mean, look, it's just we have work to do.
Rotus, you didn't tell us you were about to get into this cooker thing, but we thought probably you were not. You didn't say it, but now it seems you have a mind to turn off the rec to just upset a record. Just we're trying to set.
I need to eat, and I should have gone to the market myself to check on the ingredients. But thanks to social media folks, I didn't pay, so I went back and I was like, listen, you need to check on these prices, so we cut it down. We cut it down.
Okay.
But by and large, food is expensive, and the point is that crop production cannot be your top contributor to economic growth, and yet you've got food prices climbing by triple digits, and you're not producing enough food. That's the gist of it, basically.
Yeah, I like the gist of it. And it's also good to know that even though people would see Rotus with a suit and tie, and as he goes about sounding this fluent, they seem like you don't even eat pepper. But so it's good to bring it back home that yes, you eat pepper. So
I
it's
like
good.
pepper. Just yes, I do. Pepper brings food to life. I like pepper a lot.
You touched base with the common man now. So let's talk about the CBN governor, the bow tie wearing, tuxedo wearing CBN governor. Just as you called it on the show last week, you talked about how the MPC meeting wasn't holding, and where would be the last point for him to make mention of anything to reel out. And just as you called it, it was at that banker's dinner. And so he spoke about a whole lot of things. So walk us through it.
Yeah. I mean, look, they overhyped that speech. And you know what? Maybe we need to have a boring CBN governor just to take attention off of so many things. So his speech was he said things that we had already expected him to say. But yeah, he did come up with an announcement saying that he wants the banks to recapitalize. So he essentially wants bigger banks in Nigeria in order to be able to shoulder the weight of a $1 trillion economy. But look, Omas, some numbers here. I just wanted to let you know where we are. Okay. Nigeria's banks, if you can, for a $450 billion economy, right? And as far as our banking sector, the total assets, if you look at the total assets for 2022, it's about 73.5 trillion naira, right? Which is about, if you use the exchange rate at the end of 2022, which was 450, that comes out to about $169 billion in total assets for our banks. But Omas, one bank in South Africa, Standard Bank Group, which is the biggest bank in Africa, its total assets are 169 billion. Well, 169.8. Nigeria's total banking assets as of 2022 was 169.1. So one bank in South Africa has the total assets. So the whole point is that, yes, Yemi Cardoso wants banks to be bigger. It's all part of this drive to get to 1 trillion. Very similar to our Minister of Arts and Culture, who wants to get the sector to 100 billion. So, but look, here's the thing. And another quick number here. If you look at the total deposits, right, in Nigeria's 13 major banks, they came out to about $141 billion in 2022. The top 5 African banks, that is 4 of them are from South Africa, 5th is from Morocco. By the way, South Africa has a population of 50-something million. Morocco has a population of 37 million. Top 5, those 5 banks, the 5 biggest banks in Africa, their total deposits was $394 billion, almost 400 billion. Their total deposits is almost the size of Nigeria's economy from just 2 5 banks. So the point here, Omas, is that if Yemi Cardoso wants the banks to recapitalize and he wants bigger banks to support a bigger economy, Omas, who are the people depositing money into banks? Is it not you? Is it not me? Is it not Yinka? Is it not, everybody else that's listening on the show? Right. So if you want a bigger banking base, then you have to grow your economy so that people get more money, businesses do better, and they can deposit funds. I didn't have light for about 10 hours yesterday, right? I know Sunday people are closed down, but think about what businesses and people spend on generating their own power. Yes. So if you want to just solve Nigeria's problems, get 24/7 power. The money they spend less on generators, they can deposit that money into your bank. You will grow your economy and you will grow your banking sector. So fine, yeah, that was great. I mean, he talked about that stuff and other things, but that was the gist of his chat.
Okay, I just want to dwell on this recapitalization because it seems like it's the major issue people are running with after that speech right now. Even though for me it was the fact that. For me, it was how he explained why there would not be another NPC meeting at the end of the year, saying they've met. Yeah. I love the fact that he mentioned that. And then for me, that was when he also talked about, he said, now there will be more open market operations because the last time they did, it was oversubscribed. Okay. Anyway, Rotus said you called it out already before now. So yeah, that's for me. So, but talk to us about this recapitalization. Do you see it causing jitter among the banks in this country right now?
I don't think so, because when the bank, so by the way, if you take the total assets or total deposits, I was using 435 naira per dollar at the end of 2022. If you take it to 700 or whatever, then that falls, that becomes lower. So when you think about things like your capital adequacy ratio and you think about all these other things, you've got, so if you think about the classification of banks in Nigeria, you've got commercial banks, you've got microfinance banks, regional banks, you've got another classification, SIBs, systemically important banks, banks with international authorization, banks with regional authorization. Essentially, look, the central bank wants the banks to be well capitalized in order to weather any storms. To answer your question, I don't think it will cause any jitters, because when we saw the devaluation happen, a number of banks already started going on capitalizing, raising capital. They already started, like UBA, for instance, another bank. So they were already on that move because of what the devaluation did to their balance sheets and so on and so forth. So I don't think it will cause any issues for the banks.
When was the last time there was a major recapitalization of the banks in this country?
We raised it back in, that's a good question. I think it was
2013 time, I guess.
Also, it went from, I think it was 2013. I'll check, 2013, 2014 or so was the last time, raising it to a minimum capital of about 2 or 2 billion or 20 billion or so, if I remember correctly. I have to check back, yeah.
Okay, so let's get on what's on your final trade. But as I'm about to present this one, Rotus, is just to let you know that in Lagos, for those who met the Molue and who use the regular buses, you are told that you must answer your bus stop at every point when the conductor tells you. It calls TMS, you say, and then but then let's get into this one. How do you board a plane from Abuja and then you find yourself in Asaba, Abuja? How do this sound? I know they've got A's in it, but then take us through this. What happened?
Yeah, something really weird with United Airlines. It was trending yesterday. The airline took off from Lagos. I think it was heading to Abuja. They said bad weather caused it to divert to Asaba. So they landed in Asaba, but somehow the pilots didn't tell the cabin crew. So when they landed in Asaba, they announced that they had landed in Abuja. So it caused some confusion. But then they put out a press release, a public a statement yesterday saying that, well, yeah, this is the reason why it was diverted. Although it was kind of weird, because if that was the case, then other flights heading to Abuja would have been diverted, but they were not. So look, we're just going with what they announced. It was just weird that the pilots didn't let the cabin crew know. And so the cabin crew now went and announced that they had landed in Abuja when it was actually Asaba. And then people started tweeting about it, and it all became,
but you sent me, I must mention, you sent me a very interesting tweet by one Dawisu, who said, we are now departing Asaba. We are departing Asaba now. I pray we don't land in the Shogbo next. That was how it capped up all of it. But that's a fine place to go to the clients this morning and start reading our messages now, Rotus. Gbenga Kamu is waiting. He's been waiting all this while for us to get to his message. And it goes on. Where is all the rice that Buhari government claimed it had planted? The price has gone so high, and we don't know what December will bring for rice prices, Gbenga Kamu. So where are the banks going to get the funds for recapitalization? That's what he's asking. How do we revive manufacturing and production? That should be the main focus we bring to reality. Gbenga Kamu's message. Yinka Bolu throws in this one. Rotus, have you called the DSS to arrest her yet? The funny thing is, she even came back to add vegetables and bumped up the price to 40K for a week. That stew must be an eternal stew Rotus was preparing for a week. Anyway, how much is pepper and tomato at mile 12? Bro, and it goes on and on. Rotus, are you thinking of having a new cook, or you just let her have a second chance?
We're giving her a second. She's been cooking stuff for me for a while. Before, I used to go with her to the market, but then I just didn't have the time this last year. No, she's keeping her job. I need to support the jobs in Nigeria as best as we can.
All right, Rest Cook, you have it. Rotus said you're keeping your job. So Wahid Bello says, very true, Oga Rotus. You can divorce the economy. You can't divorce the economy from banking sector. Cardoso and CBN has the same attitude of our lawmakers, seeing getting Jeep for themselves as the solution to bad roads. Who made the bad policies that caused the depreciation of the Naira? Will the increase stop the further depreciation? The CBN and government are attacking symptoms rather than the root of the issues. Wahid Bello. Quite a lot of messages this morning. Rotus, Babatunde Alao comes up. Rotus, talk of oratory, give it to the CBN governor and his current administration. Recapitalization of the banks is dependent on the economy. How robust is your economy? That's the question. The government should put the economy right. Babatunde Alao sent in that one. I've got someone, your name, okay, Taufik. Last one was 225 billion naira recapitalization, December 2005.
2005, thank you for that. Yes, thank you for that.
And then someone, Bumi Smith, also shared in the question, lay capitalization was for 25 billion naira in 2005. Bumi, thanks so much. And that's a
fantastic. Solid. You see our listeners, they are bankers as well. They are sharp, right? I thank them for tuning in. Thank you, Omas. And look, it's another interesting week. We begin again. I appreciate it.
May your day be profitable, and to also our clients also. Thank you so much.
You too, sir. You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Brought to you by InterSwitch. Transaction Solutions.